Your reactions are a spell to siphon your energy. And in this video, you're going to learn in depth what this means and how this works. I just recently, I was doing some online courses for my new job, and they had this little section on reactions, like chemistry, chemical reactions. And in chemistry, a reaction is something that when two atoms come together to create a transformation or to release heat and light. So this is really special because as a being of light, if you are a powerful light being, what you're going to deal with a lot are narcissistic people and demons, entities, attachments, people who are under-functioning, who don't take responsibility for themselves, who don't regulate their emotions. You're going to deal with these people who want to get some sort of reaction out of you to take your light and take your energy. So we're in this system right now on Earth, in this density, where people kind of feed off of each other constantly. And because there are so many people who don't exist in an energy of sovereignty, it perpetuates this cycle because there are so many people who can just be freely siphoned, right? So there's not much pressure to take responsibility for oneself or to stop or to change, because it's they're rewarded for not changing in this current society, in this system that we're living in. So in the context of narcissistic abuse, your reactions are not actually your actions. They're a script that is triggered within you to release your energy and release your light, formed by your unique childhood conditioning. This unique childhood conditioning was formed from your family, from society, from school, and many other things. So even if you perhaps may not think that your family is narcissistic, which oftentimes our family can be narcissistic and we won't know until we get really deep into the inner work, but even if you don't think your family was narcissistic, everyone on this earth has been introduced to narcissistic abuse. Most low-level, entry-level jobs are narcissistic, abusive. A lot of corporate jobs are narcissistic and abusive. So the school system itself is narcissistic and abusive. So just had to put that out there. But your reactions are not yours when you're reacting. And so how we want to shift the way that we relate to narcissists is by coming up with our own way of conscious action in reaction to their, in response to their behavior. So what the narcissist is hoping for, they're hoping that you will react in a way that gives them control, whether that means control over the narrative about you, control over the story about you, control over you in that way that they can gaslight you, or control over your energy in general, your light. Because this is what narcissists do. On a spiritual and energetic level, they are disconnected from their own light. In order to live, they can take from others. They're greedy. On a spiritual and emotional level, they're greedy. They're seeking out your emotional energy. And so how this transformation works, this reaction, if we're looking at it from a chemical perspective, their abuse reacts perfectly with your conditioning to create a release of your energy. For really bright souls with a lot of light, which you probably are if you're here on this video, there is a purpose for this release. That is, when you are really caught up in these cycles, you can't shine your light fully because it would put you in danger. And so what really advanced souls do is they they actually purposely allow their energy to be siphoned in order to protect themselves. And this is what children do as well. It's like you're given like a no-win option. The body knows that the safest route is to allow its energy to be siphoned until you come to a point where you are capable of holding sovereignty and still keeping safety around you. And so their abuse mixes with your conditioning to create a release of energy. The transformation part of this is also extremely important because a lot of you have a fear that you are a narcissist. And what this means, what this is a manifestation of how narcissism works. This transformation, narcissistic abuse, is designed to transform the victim into a narcissist to perpetuate the cycles of abuse on earth, right? This is why, hurt people, not necessarily, but narcissistic abuse is designed to condition people into being narcissists. On a deeper level, gaslighting is how this works, right? If you gaslight someone enough to think that your behavior is fine, as a child, if they don't, grow this like critical thinking skills or question any of that ever, what do? They repeat this evil and dark thing without even knowing that it is wrong. And how we protect ourselves from this type of energy transformation, it's never really ideal. Like, you can't just like become immune to abuse, become totally regulated in abuse. But what will help you be regulated when dealing with this is being grounded in the truth. When you there's like a couple steps that you need to have in order to act instead of react in a way that is controlled. And the steps are, you need to know what the truth is and trust the truth of the situation in a split second. You need to be able to identify it and trust it. This allows you to act with confidence and without fear. And this also allows you to act in a way that is appropriate and necessary for the situation, best necessary for you. And what this really means is, and so there's a couple like different actions that you'll need to take depending on the situation. Like I'm thinking back of how I've handled narcissists, like in my life, attacking me. There's times when you should say nothing. There's times when you can say something, because there's this like fine like tightrope that you walk when you're dealing with narcissistic abuse, to where your silence, the boundary of silence to narcissists can be too much. It can be too it can slowly like dampen your power. So there's times when you do need to stand up for yourself, and you do need to say something to keep the energy like balanced. I don't know how to fully put that into words, but there's like this tightrope that you walk of like too much silence dampens your power. Too much standing up for yourself can dampen your power. But the key here is that when you don't have these reactions that give the other person control, that come from control, when your actions come from conscious choice and conscious understanding of the truth and your boundaries and what you deserve and what will happen if you set these boundaries, narcissists double down and they try and get these reactions out of you on an extreme level. And the reason why they're doing this is because they're trying to get your light, your energy, this transformation of you. And it's kind of sad, like how they're like being used as a puppet by these entities to, spread an agenda of lower energies, right? When we think of agendas, if there's any conspiracy theorists on my channel, when we think of agendas, it's like, oh, the government might spread agendas, right? But, a lot of people have their own little agendas that are unconscious. I'm being called to like share this example with you for how narcissistic people like want your energy. At Target yesterday, a woman was standing really close to me, And that's one of my pet peeves in line, when people don't have spatial awareness of like leaving some personal space. That's one of my pet peeves. So as she's like standing close to me, I keep moving forward, and then she keeps moving closer to me. And so at that point I was a little bit annoyed. And then she like got right next to me and started talking to me, and she seemed very like dysregulated and disheveled. And like, although I don't know for sure, like my read on this dynamic was, it was kind of like, it's this like reaction thing, right? So she may not have known she was like violating a boundary, but like unconsciously she was like violating this boundary. And then her asking me of the question, and it was a really obvious question, like, we're in the line. First she like snarfs about the line, how long it is, and then she asks me, are we in the self-checkout line? And so I was just like, in my mind I'm like, she knows we're in the self-checkout line, why is she asking this dumb question? There was a giant wasp, so I'm not really trying to get stung. But yeah, so she knew we were in the self-checkout line. And what that was, it was like a boundary violation which caused tension, and then an attempt for her to regulate herself through me. And so people do this to you, if this rings any bells for you. What this means is you actually have like a calming, regulating, soothing energy that people reach to. Holy fuck, it's hot. Hopefully I just don't get sun. But there's this like really, you have this like soothing energy that like narcissistic people reach to. And the thing is though, is I find it invasive and boundary violating, and I don't just give my energy away to people who do this. This has happened to me multiple times, where we're in like a kind of chaotic energy or like dysregulated space, and a dysregulated person kind of asks me a obvious question, and I don't respond, because it's like I'm not enabling them. That's kind of like where I'm at. My boundaries don't enable others. And I don't think it's okay for someone to, use me as their emotional regulator, instead of like introspecting and like using their own terms to regulate their emotions, right? Like, I can help someone, I can be of support to people, but I'm not free energy to people who are used to using others for their energy and don't do any work at all to regulate themselves. And so what that was, it was like that boundary violation from the first woman created this like point that could have created a control reaction. And then with that dumb question, she was looking for a way to take my light. Now, I don't know if that's for sure, but this is like following the example, and this is what you experience with the narcissist in your life. And as I've like become more skilled at this, I've noticed these dynamics within like public spaces, but I used to not. And the narcissists in your life, they're like creating situations to which they can siphon your light off of you. And you don't exist to be an emotional battery for others. Another thing about reactions is that, so we're actually going to pivot. For those of you who have a fear that you may be a narcissist and that you are a narcissist, the way to resolve this comes from one like mental reframe, perspective shift, and one illusion that you dissolve within your being. And this illusion is that narcissists know exactly what they're doing. So there's this like subtle energetic spell work that has been cast on society that you probably have within your being, that I had within my being. And what this spell work is it's like this underlying unconscious messaging around narcissists, that narcissists don't know they're narcissists. Narcissists don't know what they're doing. Narcissists are unconscious. People are acting unconsciously. And there's a very fine line that we want to walk with this term unconscious. Because yes, people can, I use the term unconscious behavior. People can act unconsciously, yes. But they're consciously choosing not to become more conscious. They're consciously choosing not to take responsibility. They're consciously choosing to ignore all of the opportunities that they get every single day, year, month to change and become a better person. So that is conscious, right? And they're not like blacked out, like they don't know what they're doing. They don't know what they're doing is wrong. And perhaps narcissists may not call themselves narcissists and identify as narcissists, but they do know that their behavior is wrong, and they do know exactly what they're doing. This is one lesson that I've learned speaking to narcissists from this place of sovereignty is that I've spoken with a lot of them. I have a lot of experience with narcissistic people. But one thing I've learned is that they openly admit to their behaviors. They really do. Unless they've got you hooked into them, right? They don't admit it unless you're sovereign, right? Like, I've had so many narcissistic people like straight up tell me that they are vindictive, revengeful, that they hurt people. They show you their mindsets. And this is what happens when you exist in this energy of truth and authenticity. You know when you are not a narcissist. That's the illusion. Narcissists know that their behavior is wrong, that they're abusive, that they are narcissistic. You know if your behavior is not narcissistic. You know if you're not an abuser. Narcissists can't help but expose themselves to the truth. And this is why also, I'm going to go on a little bit of a tangent. This is also why awakened individuals, sovereign souls, struggle in the workplace. Because people in the workplace who are holding on to their illusions and projecting pieces of themselves that aren't true, when they come into contact with you, a being of truth and authenticity, their truth has to come out. Their illusions cannot exist with you, right? Their version of self that is an illusion, that is illusionary, only exists with people who also have their own illusionary version of self. So since you don't have that illusionary version of self, their self that comes out to you is their true self. And oftentimes that true self is really wounded, maybe mean, maybe nasty, maybe angry, rude, disrespectful, that type of thing. And so you bring out the truths in other people, and this is why it makes it harder. And then it shows those narcissists who they are, and they don't want to look at who they are, right? It's hard for them to look at who they are. But the thing about this narcissistic transformation that I've been talking about is this transformation into this narcissistic energy, the light into this narcissistic energy is just that, a transformation. It's a mechanism of control. So this energy that these people think they are is not them, and it is not you. These narcissistic energies are not you. You can release them at any time and come back to your true self, the self that is innocent, the self that is pure, the self that is love and that is light. You can come back to this. And this is also how you control yourself and become more better at not reacting to narcissists, is that they're not able to transfer their instability to you. One of the skills that you can create when healing from narcissistic abuse is kind of like calling your energy back, but giving others energy back. What narcissism really does is when people act from this like vindictive state, they're like very revengeful and narcissistic and like evil, and they know exactly what they're doing. That racks up karma, right? And you're over here, you're like innocent, you're trying your best, you're a beautiful person, you just can't see it yet. You're this amazing individual with so much potential to offer to the world. And so why are you having all of this instability in your life and all of these bad things happening to you? It's like this karmic transfer where it's like the underlying energetic contract that you've agreed to, that you didn't even mean to agree to, that you were forced into in childhood, was that you share the instability with those people in your family or the narcissists in your life. Like, they can give you their karma and their life doesn't go to shit with all of the actions that they take. And this is how, like, in general, narcissistic beings can like take over the world. Is like, you do bad stuff, but you can transfer your karma to others and your energy to others and take their energy, and then it allows this cycle to repeat. But this is why sovereignty is so important, and how we want to shift into conscious action, which sometimes looks like being silent, sometimes looks like standing up for yourself. But the key is like, what I want to offer some like reassurance, because I know that when a lot of us go through abuse, like, your reactions are how they abuse you and your self-esteem and your self-worth. It's like your reaction makes you think that you're the problem, makes you think that you're bad, makes you think that you're dramatic, but really the truth is like nothing about your reaction is dramatic. And this is how you can like navigate abuse even when you're having these reactions, and navigate it in a way that you can still feel like okay about yourself, because you know the truth is not that you're bad. And this is only for people that actually like truly resonate with this, like, because there are people who are victims of narcissistic abuse and are also quite narcissistic themselves and vindictive and don't have pure intentions. But if you truly have pure intentions, you're still not going to be perfect. You're going to yell at people sometimes. You're going to yell at the narcissist. You're going to feel like you might even say a nasty word to a narcissist, like that type of thing. Everyone does that. But that's really a big part of the abuse. A huge part of the abuse is them using your reactions to lower your self-esteem. But what you can know is that like your reactions are valid, that your reactions are proportionate to the situation, that you would not be reacting this way if their behavior was not awful. And this is very huge for manipulators, because oftentimes a manipulator can do something that on the surface isn't bad, but their underlying intention is evil. And the victim will have this big, huge reaction that really looks bad and really makes them look bad. But underneath the surface, they're actually reacting to the severity of the intention. It's like, I've witnessed this in like a relationship I had observed between two people. It's like, yeah, I know exactly why this person reacted the way that they did, because of the underlying energies and the underlying intention of the situation. And this is what a lot of abuse survivors need to hear, is like, there is always a deeper reason for your reactions. There's always a reason that makes sense. And if you can come to that sense and that understanding, this is really how you become more sovereign and able to navigate these situations with more ease and more skill. Like there's always a reason. And now this is like a little bit nuanced, because we do have things like triggers, like trauma responses and triggers. And that's a beautiful thing for me to talk about here, is that triggers are almost always triggered. You are almost always going to be triggered by someone who is carrying the exact same energy as the person who traumatized you. That is what the trigger is. The person is carrying the same energy that traumatized you. That is why you're being triggered. Or on the flip side, if a genuinely good person is triggering you, the trigger is what is actually triggering you is the fact that this person holds an energy that you once deemed to be unsafe, bad, guilty, that you associate a good trait in yourself that you lost, that you want back. That's what's triggering you. So there's two sides to it. But just know that if you're being triggered by someone, a similar energy that you have some sort of traumatic history with, whether that's suppressing a good part of yourself or a traumatic energy that traumatized you, that's what a trigger is. Okay? And so your reactions are valid. And I think there's more to that. I think there's more nuance to that, because maybe sometimes you can be triggered by others, like because of misplacement and projection and that type of thing. But yeah, thank you for watching this video. It's gotten a little bit long, and I will see you in the next one.